Another year, another immigration minister. If you are someone who follows immigration news, this might not even feel like news anymore. But here we are, new prime minister, new minister in charge of immigration, and a new direction we might be heading towards. Lena Metlege Diab is now Canada's new immigration minister, and Mark Carney has officially taken over as Prime Minister of Canada. But here's the thing I want to talk about today. How often this change has happened over the past few years. And what does it actually mean for applicants, newcomers, students, and for people already living here trying to settle? Let's go through that in detail today. If you just look at the last 10 years, immigration has had a different minister almost every other year. Almost 7 to 8 people in 10 years. And that's a lot of turnover for something as sensitive as immigration. And I totally understand minister change, government shifts. That's how politics works. But from an immigrant's point of view, it feels certainly unstable. Because when you're planning a major life move, spending lakhs of rupees or taking loans for education, the last thing you want is changing rules midway of your journey. That uncertainty is where the real stress starts. Now, some people say it doesn't matter who the minister is. The system runs on policy and not people. That's for sure partly true. But a minister does more than just sign the documents. They set the tone, direction, and priorities. One minister might focus on welcoming international students and skilled workers, and another might focus on caps, slowdowns, and system tightening. And we have seen the shift just in the past 2 years. From bold PR targets under Sean Fraser to Mark Miller hitting pause, reducing student numbers, raising eligibility thresholds, and of course, tightening permits. So, yes, the minister does matter, right? Because the direction changes under their leadership, even if not overnight. Let's talk about the new minister, Lena Metlege. She may not be as widely known yet, but here's what's interesting about her. She is an immigrant herself, originally from Lebanon. She moved to Canada at the age of 11, and she served as a Nova Scotia's Attorney General. And she's worked closely with provincial immigration, especially in Atlantic Canada. And that's where I come from. And that last part, I think, is important for sure because she understands smaller provinces, regional needs, and the gaps in economic immigration that don't always get national attention and visibility. And when a minister actually has that lived experience of being an immigrant or working in smaller provinces and communities, there's a chance the approach could be more grounded. It's still early days, so we don't know how her policies will shape up. Of course, there will be a strong influence by the Prime Minister, of course. It's not ultimately the immigration minister's last ticket. The background is wise, and it's absolutely a positive start to look at. Now, if we look at the bigger picture, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and he has taken over as a Prime Minister, brings a different kind of leadership altogether. He has a different lens and the way he sees things. And he's not a career politician, right? He comes from the industry and he comes from a finance and a global economics background. I don't think so. He takes emotional decisions. He would probably take a factual, facts-based decisions. And a lot of people have seen him as pragmatic, data-driven, someone who wants systems to work efficiently. And that's exactly what Canada needs now. And what does that mean for immigration? My guess is we will see a more measured tone, immigration tied closely to labor market gaps. That's been there, but still there is something that needs to be done. And less of the record breaking numbers and more of, are these numbers sustainable? They've cut down on numbers, but still, are they sufficient? We don't know. And possibly a shift toward long term outcomes and not just talking about volumes. Volumes are not going to serve the purpose anytime, anywhere, in any business or any job. And there's good and bad in that, right? The good may be more planning, fewer sudden rule changes, right? So the moment you change rules week on week or month on month, it's going to lead to more of stress and panic amongst the immigrants rather than doing any sort of good. And the tough part it could become harder to qualify, especially if you are relying only on a 1 year program or hoping things will start getting flexible because it's a liberal government again. So if you're someone already here working, studying, or waiting for PR, what should you take away from all this? I would say a few things. Expect a recalibration. The last few years were just about growing numbers. Now it's going to be about managing outcomes, right? And realities. Lived experience matters. With Lena, Metlege, Diab, we might see more focus on regional pathways, smaller provinces, and smoother provincial federal collaboration, which is important, which is missing these days. And uncertainty is going to stay, at least in the short term, unless we get a pulse of these new government. So every minister takes time to settle, and we are likely to see more policy adjustments over the next 6 to 12 months. And that's exactly what the impact is going to be. And you will have to continue to stay updated and not just hopeful. It's not about panicking, but this is the time to pay attention to who qualifies, which programs are expanding, and what kind of candidate Canada really wants going forward. And here's my honesty. Every time a new minister steps in, there's always a wave of concern in the immigrant community. And rightly so, because immigration is not just policy. It's pretty personal for several of them. It decides whether families get to stay together, whether international students feel secure, whether workers already contributing feel recognized. And change can feel unsettling for a lot of us, but it also brings opportunity to fix things that have not been working, to listen better, to build smarter systems. So as we move forward with this new chapter, new PM, new minister, let's stay informed. Let's keep asking the right questions and let's keep sharing our experiences. Because policies are written on paper, but it's our lives that live through them.